What role did AI play? And how did you get in contact with all those specialists? Again, when you are a patient and suddenly you're faced with this huge diagnosis, it's not like you're handed a book of top oncologists globally with their direct mobile numbers and them willing to just respond to your questions.
Yeah, of course. So let's separate that into two pieces. So one in terms of the AI side. So initially it didn't play that much of a role. I started going through PubMed and just typing in oncology and typing in esophageal cancer and adenocarcinoma was sort of my first stop. It wasn't until I'd come across the next generation sequencing company, Astron Health, who they use an AI language learning model to interpret the data that comes out of their testing set. And that sort of tweaked something in me and went, yeah, of course, I know systems well. I built lots of systems in the past, not as a developer, but as an operations side person. So why not create a language learning model for this? So I did then go ahead and plug in all of the research papers that I thought were relevant. I created a separated language learning model within a ChatGPT model. So separated from the internet, separated from ChatGPT's wider sort of network in its own sort of defined and segregated language learning model that only then picked from the research papers and the pieces of information I gave it. So I used that in order to, first of all, help look at interactions between drugs and things that I was taking. And second of all, whenever I was layering in something new, to look out for things that I hadn't necessarily picked up on. So sense checking crossovers between drugs, sense checking, crossovers between pathways or hepatic load or kidney function and all these little bits and pieces. I used AI in order to help me to define that. Now, of course,
Mm.
unfortunately,
And how did you then um, present the information that you or the conclusions that you came to the clinicians? At which stage did basically what your doctors planned on doing differ from what you figured out could work in your particular case?
so in terms of my NHS doctor, that was very early on. So I think our second conversation, I sort of noted to her that first of all, I wanted to follow a complementary route. So I never did anything sort of as an alternative, as it were. I never said no to the standard of care. I never walked away from the standard of care. I used it in conjunction with the standard of care in order to increase efficacy and reduce toxicity, essentially. I never replaced it in any way, shape, or form. But some of those early meetings where I went to her and said, okay, I've been looking at the use of, let's say, metformin as a modulator of metabolism, etc., a way to reduce inflammation, a way to increase the efficacy of chemotherapy and all these sorts of things. And she looked at me blankly and told me that I'd kill myself. She told me it was dangerous, told me it was stupid, told me it was all these various things. And instead, her suggestion was that I go and eat a tub of ice cream a day and that I enjoy eating dairy milk every single day, load myself up on lots and lots of sugar, despite the fact that every piece of science I'd read, even the stuff that is really traditional, said that was the worst idea possible. That was what
That's
my
a
doctor was
that's
suggesting.
a very that's a very unusual recommendation by a clinician because
It's actually
usually with
not.
oncology care you also get did you also get connected to a
Nutritionist.
nutritionist
Yeah.
on the hospital side?
That was also the nutritionist's suggestion, is that I load up on lots and lots of sugar in order to put on weight for chemotherapy. And that was the point where I decided I'm going to ignore sort of what the NHS tell me. I will listen to the science. I will listen to open conversations. And if there is a dialogue, then I'm involved. But I would do my thing my way, and that it was only down to me as to how I survived and what I did.